Hi, good afternoon, Miss Bridgewater, Miss Allen.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hope you are as well.
I am.
Good, good. Let's see. It's right before 2 o'clock. Who do we have in courtroom two?
Well, Mr. McLean, he's still interviewing one client. Can you stand by for me, please?
Oh, okay.
And Your Honor, the reset date again is the same as yesterday, January the 2nd.
Judge Morrow, position number 5 and position number 8.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hold on, sir. They waived their appearances.
Okay, thank you. Are you still on the phone there, Mr. McLean?
Wrapping up with Mr. Smiley. He's got a simple case. We're ready, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Who do we have first today?
Position number 7, Ms. Morrow.
Good afternoon, Ms. Morrow. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're completing by video. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present at these proceedings. We are providing you with the assistance of a public defender this afternoon if you choose to utilize their services. Ms. Morrow, you've been charged in case 24 CR 008182G with battery, family violence, and willful obstruction of law enforcement officers. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Second, 2023 DUR.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. Allen.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Thank you. This is an incident that occurred yesterday, December the 16th at about 5:30 p.m. Police in South Fulton were called to 5474 Oakley Industrial Boulevard. There, they met with the victim. His name is Javonte Franklin, Javonte. The assault had occurred in Unit 836. Police spoke to Mr. Franklin outside. He had a visible spot where he had obvious bruising near his eye on the left side of his face. He reported that he'd come home from work at about 4 p.m. He lives with his girlfriend, the defendant. She was heavily intoxicated, and he asked her about why she was drunk at like 4 in the afternoon. This angered her, and she argued. When he tried to leave, she struck him in the face. He tried to leave multiple times, and she was standing in the doorway, preventing him from leaving. Eventually, her sister, Mrs. Joanna Mora, removed the defendant physically. She was also struck, Your Honor. The defendant was on the scene when police went to Unit 836. She and her sister told the police they were at the wrong location. Eventually, they were requested outside, but they both refused to answer questions. They both refused to give information about their ID. They told the officers they were going to go inside and get their information. They then went inside and tried to close the door. Police had to stop that and bring them outside and detain them. That's the basis of the obstruction, Your Honor. This young lady's got an open DUI out of Smyrna. We have spoken to the victim today. He reports they're in a relationship, but they don't share any children. She found out she is pregnant at the jail, evidently. That's why she's called him 13 times since the jail and asked him to please take care of this case. He confirmed the information in the warrant. He also is asking her multiple times on the phone about why she won't stop drinking, and has explained to her that he can't live with her and that it is not a safe environment. And he doesn't want to continue to live with her. Based on the information, Your Honor, we have in front of us, we'd ask for a $2,000 surety, no contact with Mr. Franklin, stay away from wherever he is living, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we would request anger awareness or DVIP, Your Honor. And if you'd sound for Mr. Franklin. Thank you.
Mr. Franklin's on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Ms. Mora is 23. She's a graduate of Creekside High School here in Fulton County, but has gone on to do about 2 years at GSU in managerial science, and will finish in about 2 more years if she matriculates again in the next quarter or session. She has a job at a warehouse for a year now, and her previous job was at a warehouse, and her previous job was at the Renaissance Festival. Your Honor, that Smyrna DUI case, she tells me, was handled in city court. That's why maybe the reduction to, I taught her a little bit of lawyer slang, wet reckless. It was reduced to reckless driving by the city court, and she did her fine in class. And because it was handled in city court, maybe that's why we don't have the dispo handy. Your Honor, I would ask the court to consider a signature block, given that she just has the one case from before. Certainly, she needs to address the alcohol. Awareness would be appropriate. I'm not sure as a bond matter, DVIP would be really necessary, although certainly it wouldn't hurt if she on her own went and did a DVIP course. But I think anger awareness might be sufficient for now, but she does need to address the drinking. And she and I discussed that, and she seems determined to do so. So we'd ask the court to have a signature bond for her. She lives very near the high school, within about 3 blocks of the high school from which she graduated. She lives with her parents.
And does Mr. Franklin live at the Oakley Industrial Boulevard address?
I don't know about that address, but her parents' address is on Rivertown Road, very near the elementary school that's near that high school.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. For the obstruction, a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2, makes for a total of a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2. 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Javante Franklin. Stay away from Mr. Franklin's residential address. If that address is the Oakley Industrial Boulevard address and she has some belongings there, there can be a one-time police escort to retrieve those belongings. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
Oh, just want to mention, Your Honor, I think Javante might be on Zoom, and he may concur with the notion of no contact or not. I have no idea, but I think he might be on.
I sounded for him earlier before I came to you, Mr. McLean, and he didn't respond. So I still don't see any response. Mr. Franklin, if you're on, now's the time for you to address the court if you choose to.
Very, very good. Thank you.
Okay. Good luck to you, Ms. Mora.
Position number 1, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon, Mr. Brown. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar. You've been charged in case 24 CR 008183Y with battery, family violence, and 2 counts of criminal trespass. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
3rd arrest. I got an open case out of Douglas County Riot and Penal Institution. Another open case in Douglas, ag assault, possession of a firearm during the commission, criminal damage to property, obstruction, trespass. That's it.
Yes, good afternoon, Ms. McCockey.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This incident occurred yesterday. I have that the incident location is 226 Delavan Street, Southwest in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Ms. Charlotte Brown, who is the defendant's mother. Officers arrived at the location in response to a family dispute call. Ms. Brown told officers that she got an alert on her cameras that they were offline and came home to find that her cameras had been broken by the defendant. The defendant proceeded to tell his mom that he did break the cameras and that he would do it again. As she was confronting him about this, the defendant punched a hole in the wall, and the parties then began tussling and falling to the ground. Officers did observe a laceration on the victim's hand, and her fingernail was also broken. The victim told officers that the defendant also broke her iPhone. Ms. Brown does have a TPO that was granted on December 10th of 2024, which officers did serve on the defendant yesterday. Per the TPO, the defendant was ordered to leave the residence immediately. Our office has spoken with Ms. Brown, who states that her and her son do not live together. She did confirm the events in the warrant. She stated that sustained a scrape on her ankle as well, and she does believe that her hand may be sprained. She says this is an ongoing issue with the defendant. His dad kicked him out due to his behavior. His grandparents also kicked him out due to his behavior. He went off to college and was kicked out in September, also due to his behavior. She said that she never wanted him to come live with her. He just kind of implanted himself there, and she's had to put bars on her windows because he keeps breaking in. However, despite the fact that she put those bars on her window, he has still found a way to get around them and enter her home. Finally, the defendant told his mother during the incident that he would get someone to come to her house and do something to harm her. So she also has concerns about him following through with that threat. She, of course, wants no contact and wants him to stay away from the residence. The state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond on the battery family violence, a $500 surety on each count of criminal trespass. There is a concern that he will intimidate the victim given the facts of this case, his history, and the threats that he made to his mother. No further contact with Charlotte Brown. Stay away from the incident location, anger awareness, and no drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. I would ask you to please sound for the victim in this case, Ms. Brown.
Charlotte Brown is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity.
Hi, Your Honor.
Hi, yes, ma'am. You have Nicole Senior on your screen. Is that who you are?
Right on my phone, it does say Nicole. So my name is Charlotte Nicole Rice Sr., but I do go by Nicole Sr.
Okay. And who are you to Mr. Brown, London Brown?
I'm his mother.
Okay. If you'll raise your right hand for me, please. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, you can place your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I would just say that when it comes to London, this has been like an ongoing battle, not only between myself, but also between his father, other family members, the intimidation, the violence, the anger, the aggressive behavior. He's been at my residence now for about pretty much like a month, maybe a month and a week. And since then, I've been trying to remove him from my premises. I have an active eviction notice. I filed a TPO. He's destroying my property, punching holes in my walls. He's breaking into my home because he doesn't have a key. That he doesn't live there. It's just like he's threatening me now to the point that saying that he's going to have somebody come after me, and I'm just terrified. I don't know. I'm living in fear. Like I'm constantly like, what's getting ready to happen next? He's just very aggressive and volatile.
Sorry to hear that, ma'am. He's gonna be ordered as a part of his bond not to come near you or come near your home. If you find out that he violates that order, you need to call the police right away, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you for being here this afternoon, ma'am. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. I appreciate it.
I do have a
Mr.
question.
McClain?
Yes. Ma'am, does he work?
London is very manipulative liar, so I really don't know. He says that he has a job at UPS. I'm not aware of him actually going to work anywhere at all. For the most part, he's home throughout the day. Maybe he had a job at one point. I don't know. He's very secretive.
What was he studying in college?
He was in college for a month. He got put out. The dean called me to come pick him up because he was disruptive there. but when he was in college there, he went there for a science major at that time. I know he went to say, but I dropped him off in August. In September, they were calling me to come pick him up because and he had encounters with the police there while he was there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, I think maybe a social worker visit might be a good idea. I just want to make sure there's not something else going on here that's causing this behavior.
I understand, Ms. McConkey. Thank you. Mr. McLean?
I agree. I think the social worker visit would be very much in order, Your Honor, and I will, by copy of the, I've got a new methodology where the social workers get the calendars with the social worker visits notated. Your Honor, he does have some college, as we heard, but not much, and he is very employable. The UPS job, I'm not sure if that's going on right now. If he's home a lot, Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider as low a bond as possible. We do need to address the root cause of the problem. And I believe that sister might be helpful. She's in her 20s, but I haven't been in touch with her yet. So we'd ask there as low a bond as possible. If the arrest history or the current situation, if a signature bond is not possible, we'd ask for a $1,000 surety.
Okay. For the battery, it'll be a $2,000 good bond. For each of the criminal trespasses, it'll be a $500 good bond. It makes for a total of a $3,000 good bond. Social worker visit for a BHET. No further contact with Charlotte Brown. Stay away from her residential address, 226 DeLoven Street. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. If you do make bond, Mr. Brown, and if you do contact your mother by any means, or if you go by her home, the police will be called and you will be right back where you are right now if you do get out on bond. So no contact means absolutely no contact. No phone contact, no personal contact, no internet contact, no email contact, no contact whatsoever. If you contact her or go to her home, you will be in violation of this bond order. All right, good luck to you all. Who do we have next?
Position number 2, Mr. Fagan.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fagan. You've been charged in case 24 CR 008184J with 2 counts of simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
10 total. 2020 battery, 2 counts, conviction. And they got some violent convictions from the 90s. That's it.
McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident occurred October 29th, 2024. I have the incident location is 55 Bowen Avenue Southeast in Atlanta. The victim in this case is Ms. Sybil Allen, who shares a child with the defendant. The parties were having a verbal dispute regarding a conversation the defendant had with another woman when the defendant grabbed the victim by her neck, pushed her, and then punched her in the face. The party's 7-year-old son was present and told officers that he saw his father push his mom. Officers didn't see any visible injuries on the victim at the time, and the defendant had fled the location before officers arrived. That previous battery family violence conviction does involve the same victim. I have that case number as 23 SC 185891. He was ordered 12 months probation to do an FVIP and to have no further violent contact with the victim. Our office has spoken with Ms. Allen, who confirms her and the defendant are not in a relationship. They do not live together, but they do, of course, share that one child. She states the incident location is a residence that she is temporarily staying in because a tree has fallen on her home. She confirmed the events in the warrant, confirmed the defendant grabbed her by the neck. She stated that he did apply pressure and she had some difficulty breathing, but she didn't feel like she was going to lose consciousness. She, of course, states this is not the first time the defendant has been violent. They've been in contact since this incident and there hasn't been any violence since. She says that she only wants contact because of their child. The state's recommendation is a $2,000 surety bond on each count of battery. No further contact with Ms. Sybil Allen. Stay away from the incident location. Given their history of violence in the past, there is a concern about the safety of the victim. If the child has been legitimated, then third-party transfer per any parenting plan that they already have in place would be okay. But if the child has not been legitimated, then I would ask that that third-party transfer be left out of the bond order at this time. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. He was already ordered to do an FBIP, and I'm assuming that he did complete that, so we won't ask for that at this time. And I would just ask you to sound for the victim, please.
If Ms. Sybil Allen is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity. Doesn't appear so. Yes, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, Mike Fagan is 55. He has worked for at least 10 years at the FedEx warehouse and loads trucks. In addition to that, he works, in addition to that full-time job at that warehouse loading trucks, he also works part-time at another warehouse loading trucks. So he's quite industrious there, Your Honor. We would ask the court to consider the lowest bond possible in this situation. The probation, let's say that looks like it was about 3 or 4 years ago, but about 4 years ago. So I'd ask the court to consider a low bond, Your Honor, such as $1,000 surety if possible.
I have that the disposition was signed September 7th of 2023. So the case might have been from 2020, but he didn't plead guilty until 2023, I don't think.
I think you're correct. That's 2020, right? In 2020.
It'll be a $500 good bond on each charge, makes for a total of $1,000 good bond. No further contact with Sybil Allen. Stay away from her residential address. Third-party transfer of any minor children for visitation. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Fagan.
Position 3.
Good afternoon, Mr. Greenhow. You have been charged in case 24 CR 008185D with simple battery family violence. Your history, Mr. Howard?
2017 simple battery DV dismissed. 2014 FTA and 2014 theft convictions out of state. That's it.
Ms. McConkey?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened December 15th, 2024. I have the incident location as 4979 Old National Highway in College Park. The victim in this case is Taylor Thompson, who lives with the defendant. Officers arrived at the incident location and spoke with the victim, who advised that the defendant wouldn't let her get her belongings out of the vehicle that they were in. Officers did notice that the victim had a black eye, and she told the officers that she got it about a week ago and that the defendant did not cause the injury. Officers were able to see that the defendant was asleep inside of the vehicle. They did knock on the window and also the roof, but the defendant did not respond. As officers continued speaking with the victim, the defendant did wake up, and officers told him to allow the victim to get her items. There was a strong odor of alcohol coming from the defendant. His speech was slurred and he was staggering as he was standing and walking. He was also rushing the victim and cursing at her as she was trying to retrieve her belongings. Officers then observed the defendant push the victim after she refused to put his clothes back in a bag, and he was subsequently arrested. Our office has spoken with Ms. Thompson, who says her and the defendant are in a relationship. They live together and they share no children. She confirmed the events in the warrant and stated nothing like this has happened before. She states that she's not in fear and wants to continue contact. The incident location is a hotel that they were both temporarily staying at, but they have just moved out of their residence and they are planning to move out of state together. When our office asked about the black eye, she stated that it occurred 2 weeks ago when she was in a fight with another female. She states that she's in love with the defendant and wants to continue contact. Our recommendation is a $1,500 surety bond. No further contact with Taylor Thompson at this time. Stay away from the incident location. There are concerns about the safety of this victim. However, if the court is inclined to allow contact, we would ask that the defendant undergo an FBIP course as a condition of his bond. No drugs, weapons, or alcohol while out on bond. And if the court could please sound for Ms. Taylor Thompson.
Ms. Thompson is on the line and wishes to address the court. Now is your opportunity.
Yes,
Yes,
listening.
ma'am. If you can raise your right hand for me. The other hand.
My bad.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can place your hand down. What would you like to tell the court, Ms. Thompson?
I would just like to say that when I was trying to get inside the vehicle and when I was trying to get the things out, I was trying to get his phone and my phone so that we could get another room when we was at the hotel. But because we were drinking that night, we were a little bit intoxicated, things did get out of hand, but he's not a violent man. Like, I do not know him for that. Like, he's very lovable. I love him. I just want to see what's best for him. I wanted what's best for us to leave this state. So yeah.
Okay, has this ever happened before? Ms. Thompson?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah,
Yes.
I said no, it's never happened before.
Okay, and where are you residing at the present time?
I'm at a friend's house.
Okay. Where do you plan on staying?
You said what? Can you please say it again?
Do you all have a place to stay?
No, we're staying at the hotels, but that's why I went to the police department to see if I can go pick. But I ended up going to the Fulton County yesterday and asked for a notary and a attorney to see if they could sign the paper so I can go back to the police department to pick up his phone and keys.
All right, thank you for being here, ma'am.
Yes.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, Mr. Greenhow is 36. He has a high education. He worked for over 2 years filling aviation fuel into Delta airplanes. He has worked for a production for agency called Staff Zone. Given what we've heard about his history and the situation, court to consider as low a bond as possible, perhaps a signature bond. He has a Columbus Drive address in Jonesboro, probably a relative's address, which is good for me, but I don't know about where they're planning to go. Thank you.
All right, it's going to be a $500 good bond. No further violent contact with Ms. Thompson. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Greenhow. Who do we have next?
Position number 9, Smiley.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smiley. You've been charged in case 24 CR 008191Y with criminal trespass and fare evasion. Is your history, Mr. Howard?
71. He got a history of probations, FTAs, trespass, no loads, and convictions, obstruction convictions as well. It's a lot.
Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a fare evasion and criminal trespass from the 16th of December. At about 5:30 p.m. yesterday, the defendant was observed by officers at MARTA at the 5 Point Station, that's 30 Alabama Street, pushing through the fare gate without paying. They approached him, and when they ran his information, it was revealed that he received a year ban on September the 26th, 2024. He is a convicted felon. He does have those 71 cycles. He just had a NOLO plea to disorderly and criminal trespass in 2023. Prior criminal trespass convictions in 2022 and failure to appears as well, Your Honor. We're asking for $1,000 surety, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and stay away. And we'd request a social worker visit, please.
Could you repeat the recommendation? I'm sorry.
We requested $1,000 surety bond, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons to stay away from all MARTA in accordance with the year-long ban that he's currently under, and we'd ask for a social worker visit.
Very good. Thank you. Your Honor, Mr. Smiley is 62. A social worker visit should be in order. He does have a disability. Instead of working, his back is very bad, and he is on disability for that. It's been going on for over a year now. He does have a stable mail address on Cairo Street in Atlanta, 30314, with a particular house number that's a relative, and it's got good mail service. So we would ask the court to consider a signature bond if possible, and if not, then simply a low surety. Thank you.
Okay, for each charge, it'll be $100 good bond, makes for a total of a $200 good bond. Stay away from MARTA, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond, social worker visit to assist with anything that Mr. Smiley may need, including housing. Good luck to you, Mr. Smiley.
Position number 10.
Hey, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thicklin. You've been charged in case 24 CR 008189B with 3 counts of battery family violence. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
19. Open obstruction out of East Point, possession of marijuana, possession of a Schedule 2 controlled substance. That's 24 PI 000859. 2022 FTA, 2020 battery DV, that was dismissed. 2017 and 19 probation, 2013 robbery. That's it.
Alan?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Thicklin's case should actually be a felony, but the DA has declined to take it. I'm unsure why. A report was made by the victim in this case. On November the 7th, he had gone to Grady to seek medical attention. He had visible injuries. Police in East Point responded to his house. His name is Johnny Robinson, excuse me. He's 60 years old. So police responded to his address, 1733 McClendon Avenue, apartment 6. He was seen to have visible injury on his face, bruising to the left ear and the left side of his face. He reported that for the past year, the defendant had been living with him as a roommate and somewhat caretaker, that he had multiple issues with his health, had a heart attack, had both of his hips replaced, and had lumbar surgery. He is currently unable to walk without assistance and needs help doing everyday things. So based on the definition of a disabled or injured adult, incapacitated adult for that reason, this is a felony because the defendant, while living with him, discovered that the victim is a sex offender and began striking him repeatedly any chance he could get. The victim obviously had injuries on him the day that police took a report from him, and he provided them with video and photographs of injuries from September the 8th of 2024, as well as August the 10th of 2024. He was seen to have lacerations on his arms and lacerations on his face and all over his forehead. He reported that the defendant, since he had found out he was a sex offender, the defendant would, anytime the victim's back was turned, would strike him and say things about how this is karma, this is what you get for what you did. And he was afraid. He was afraid to make a report. He needed the defendant to help him do his daily care for himself. That's why he'd asked for him to move in. The defendant was living at the location. Mr. Thicklin was not present on November the 7th when the police came, but they did go into his bedroom where in plain view there was a firearm. He is a convicted felon. That is another reason why this case should be a felony. And so I reached out to the detective in East Point yesterday who confirmed this information that I just explained to you, and confirmed that the victim had to be helped getting access to food when police got involved, that he is in need of assistance doing daily things. He walks with a walker and can hardly get around. The defendant calls his mom and calls his baby mama, Kayla, and they talk about how the defendant can hardly walk around for himself, but karma's going to get him because of what he did. So based on the facts in front of you, Your Honor, 3 charges of battery family violence. Unfortunately, we could not charge him with the felony abuse of someone who is disabled or incapacitated, because that's what this is. or a felon in possession of a firearm, we're asking for an $8,000 cash bond, no contact with Mr. Johnny Robinson, to stay away from that address. I do believe the defendants moved out of that location, but that's 1733 McClendon Avenue, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. The defendant is already on bond from February for his case of a felon in possession of a firearm and drug possession. He has been ordered to have no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, random screens, and he currently has an SOB on that Superior Court case. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, Ms. McLeod.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My client denies the allegations on the warrant, Your Honor. He tells me that he was never this gentleman's caretaker. He said actually he rented a room from him for approximately 9 or 10 months, and he has been living there. He would help him out from time to time, but he was not a caretaker, because the warrant gives the impression that he was somehow like a hired caretaker or something like that, which he was not. He certainly denies that he ever struck this gentleman or anything like that, and he has moved out from the location more than 2 months now. So if they went there and saw a firearm in a room allegedly occupied by my client wasn't living there. He had already moved some time ago. But he vehemently denies that he ever attacked this gentleman, and he lived there for over a year. And to say that he was afraid to call doesn't seem to make logical sense. He is called now and made these allegations, and that they would say that he had injuries to him. My client has moved away for over 2 months. Where did these injuries come from? So it's something in this story does not make sense, because he's saying that he was nice to him, then he found out he was a sex offender and suddenly became nasty. It just does not add up. But my client certainly denies the allegations, Your Honor. He is employed, but he does not earn a lot of money. If the court is disinclined to give him a signature bond, I would ask for the lowest possible bond, Your Honor, so he can get out of jail. He tells me that he's very much involved with his 2-year-old son, which is essentially what he does. He takes care of his son when he's not working. He's very close with him. And, he feels like this is sort of a made-up story from someone who he has helped out a lot. He tells me he's even brought his son. The alleged victim knows his little boy. He's been to the house, so he just doesn't know where this is coming from, Your Honor, but he certainly denies it. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. For each charge, it's going to be a $2,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $6,000 good bond. No further contact with Mr. Robinson. Stay away from Mr. Robinson's residential address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Thicklin.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position number 4 is gonna be a medical reset.
Okay, that'll be reset till tomorrow, 12/18. Okay.
I'm sorry, Judge. Position number 6, he's at Union City. We didn't have him on our pool sheet, so we didn't know that.
Are we gonna be able to see him at Union City today?
Let me contact Union City. Stand by.
Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and do the waivers while you do that for me, okay?
And Judge, I don't have King's history either because he wasn't on the report sheet. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to position number 5. Ricky Hightower, who has been charged in case 24 CR 008190C with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is your history, Mr. Howard?
11. On probation, ag assault out of Hancock County. 2022, a couple of probations. 2021, 2020 probations. 2018, escape conviction. He went to felony earlier, so that's probably why he waived. He got armed robbery, ag assault charges. They gave him no bond, so he'll be here.
Okay, thank you. Miss Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. The incident here today is from June the 2nd of 2024. It is one of the multiple warrants that this defendant had outstanding when he was arrested yesterday. Police were called at about 5 p.m. to the hotel at 3900 Fulton Industrial Boulevard, room 304. They met with the victim, Shakita. It's spelled Chiketta, last name Arnold. She reported that she and the defendant share a child together. They were staying at a hotel room there together with her 4 children. The youngest of her children is the one she shares with her child. That he had threatened to kill her. He woke up angry and began throwing her things around the room. He grabbed her clothing and began throwing things. She asked him to stop shouting and yelling at her in front of the children. He started to yell about how they were ungrateful. He then grabbed her by the front of her shirt, ripping her clothing, and punched her in the eye. She had visible bruising to both of her eyes, and her clothing was torn when police spoke with her. She said that he also grabbed a knife and said, "You're going to die today. I'm not going to jail." At which point she grabbed her children and ran downstairs. She locked herself in an open and vacant room where she called 911. Police officers in this case did try to follow up with her to get information about the names and dates of birth of her children, but she refused to provide that information. I would note that the aggravated assault and strangulation are actually threats as well with a knife in felony court. One of the 3 cases he had this morning is also against the same victim for slapping her in April, holding a knife to her neck and strangling her. Again, there's no information about the children they share. We did reach out to her using the information on the police reports and TLO of the address. The lady who responded to our calls today claims she has no idea who this defendant is, and she was never involved in any incident with him. So we're requesting a $4,000 surety bond, Your Honor, no contact with Mrs. Arnold to stay away from wherever she may live. She reports her address is 2136 Snap Finger Road in Decatur. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while on bond. The 2 other cases in the felony court are armed robberies from May of this year, Your Honor. Thank you.
And if Ms. Arnold's on the line and wishes to address the court, doesn't appear that she's with us. Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, my client is 3 years old. He waived his presence at today's bond hearing since he got the no bond. On the other, actually, I heard that he waived that, so I'm not sure it was because he got the no bond, but it's probably irrelevant what his decision making was. Realize, and I think that the other case takes precedence and he needs to deal with that about this second. At any rate, he did decide to waive his presence. Your Honor, he's from Georgia. He's worked a security job for 6 months. Before that, he worked for a temp service and did construction, and before that, he worked another temp service and did over a year. He does have a stable mail address. I can chat to the clerk on Harwell. It's a particular apartment number. It's a stable mailing address for him because it's his grandmother's, and it's zip code 30318. So I can chat that so that the clerk will have a good address to get mail to him. He would ask the court to set a fair bond for him as low as possible.
And for the battery, it would be a $3,000 good bond. For the simple battery, a $1,000 good bond, makes for a total of a $4,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Arnold. Stay away from her residential address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. The next one in line is position number 8 with Shakir Phelps, who is charged in case 24 CR 008181J with theft by shoplifting. Is there a history, Mr. Howard?
Yeah, what's the name?
Phelps, position 8.
9th arrest. Last was 2012. Possession of a controlled substance out of state conviction. 2011, possession of a controlled substance on school property. Possession of a rifle or shotgun conviction. 2010, possession of a controlled substance conviction. That's it.
Sally?
Thank you, Your Honor. The defendant's criminal history is primarily out of New Jersey, and it is 5 different felony drug convictions, all which are, at least 3 of them include a weapon. This is his first arrest here in Georgia. Police were called on the 14th of June to the food depot in Fairburn at 80 West Broad Street. The manager there, Mrs. Mercer, reported that an individual had come into the location and taken items on the 12th and then returned to the location on the 14th and did the same thing. The staff had been aware that he was in the store because he'd previously stolen items. They were able to stop him, and police were provided his name because the person driving the vehicle that left the location is a former employee, not the defendant. Police reviewed surveillance. They tried to identify the vehicle, and then they spoke and followed up with Mr. Delgado, who's an employee at the location, and he reported that the defendant who they saw on the 14th came in and took grocery items, and he had followed the defendant outside where he got into a vehicle with Mr. Sinkfield, who's a former employee. So police called Mr. Sinkfield, who said he had no idea that the individual with him, Mr. Phelps, was going to steal. He just asked for a ride to the location. And Mr. Sinkfield was upset that he was involved. We're asking for a $2,000 SOB through pretrial to stay away from the location there, the food depot in Fairburn at 80 Northwest Broad Street, I believe. And no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Thank you.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, he was just a presence. It was not, he did understand the concept of waiver of presence, and it was kind of loud where we were. It was an intake, but nonetheless, it to me. I understand that 12 years ago was the last arrest thing from Essex, New Jersey. We asked the court to set a fair bond. Thank you.
All right, it'll be a $2,000 SOB through pretrial, level 1, stay away from the food depot, no drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond.
So why didn't he show up to court?
He didn't want to.
Only in Fulton, I swear.
Okay, courtroom 2, any luck with Mr. King?
Yes, sir, they're getting ready to log on.
Okay, while they're doing that, Ms. Bridgewater, you want to go ahead and go over the calendar so that we'll have that done?
Yes, sir, I will. Once again, the reset date for the SAP calendar is January the 2nd, 2025. Position number 1 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $3,000 good bond. Position 2 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $1,000 good bond. 3, SAP calendar with a $500 good bond. Position 4 is going to be heard tomorrow. Position 5, SAP calendar with a total $4,000 good bond. 6, we're here in just a moment. 7 is reset further notice with a total $3,000 SOB through pretrial. 8, reset further notice with a $2,000 SOB through pretrial. 9 is going to the SAP calendar with a total $200 good bond. And 10, SAP calendar with a total $6,000 good bond. Any questions, comments, or otherwise? Okay.
All right, so it's being reset until Union City gets on with us.
Your Honor, we haven't interviewed Mr. King yet, so I'll be his
Do you have the number to Union City, Mr. McLean?
I believe I've got one somewhere, but I probably need to make sure what it is. We used to use 20332, I believe. But what's the new number?
Anyone in courtroom 2 able to assist Mr. McLean?
Hold on one moment, let me get it.
You know,
McLean can remember everything but the phone, okay? Hold on.
Oh, here they are. They're logging on. So I'll just put you into a breakout room, Mr.
Okay.
McLean.
very good.
All right. Can you all hear me there at Union City? Can you unmute yourself for me? Okay,
Yes,
and
sir.
this is Mr. King?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. King. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're doing by video. I'm going to put you into a breakout room so that you can speak with Mr. McLean, who is a public defender who's going to represent you today, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's put Union City and Mr. McLean into a breakout room. And court will be in recess until they return.
Your Honor, I'm gonna send you what I have.
Yes. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready to proceed. Mr. McLean? You're on mute if you're talking to me.
Thank you, Your Honor. I looked at his booking screen and saw that he had an entering auto with a $5,000 bond. Then he had a false name with a $1,000 bond, but it was a several digits, quite a few numbers different than the other electronic warrant numbers. So it was my surmise that he probably gave a false name or was accused of such rather while being arrested on the entering auto. So he said he's already been to court, got a bond. His mom is making his bond on the $5,000 on the entering auto. So I think that just remains for us to deal. If I'm correct, I'm guessing that we're deal with the name. Your Honor, he's 70 years old, called his mother, the phone number that was on his booking screen, and her name is Miss Dumas, AS, and she should be on Zoom by now. And he's only 17 and he's in the 11th grade. More to say. He false name was because he was scared.
Yeah, Your Honor, he was on first appearance this morning for entering auto and theft by taking felony charges from October the 1st. That warrant was active so that when he was the passenger in a vehicle on the 8th on 285 North and Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway, Trooper Ayers asked him for his identification and he provided a false name of Darius Glenn, probably because he knew these warrants were active. Police actually on the scene called his mom to make sure they had the right, or actually the defendant's mom called the trooper back to make sure that they had her son's name correct on the information for the report because of insurance purposes. And it was then made clear that the young man had a warrant and he was just trying to avoid that. We are asking for $1,000 surety, Your Honor, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Also might make sense to have a curfew.
Okay, Mr. King, charge case 4 CR 008187F with giving false information to law enforcement. Yes, Mr. McLean.
Your Honor, we had asked the court, since this is almost like an adjunct, not exactly, it is a separate matter, but if mom is already making the effort to make the bond on the felony case, if we gave him a signature bond on this, it would save her a little cash, and here it is Christmas. Thank you. Is she on yet?
Yes, yes, good afternoon, ma'am. Can you unmute yourself for me? Are you able to unmute yourself?
Here I go. How you doing?
Okay, I'm fine, ma'am. Tell me your name and spell it for me, please.
Ayana Dumas, AYANNINA, Dumas, DUMAS.
Okay, and you're Darian's mother?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I understand that he got a bond this morning, and you're trying to make that bond on his felony case, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Does Darian live with you?
Yes.
And you want to tell me a little bit about him?
Darian, he's a good kid, but he just I'm gonna have to get Darian some help. I mean not help, like talking to like a psychiatrist or somebody, because the things I guess the things that he be want to talk about, he don't want to talk about it to me. He'll tell me certain things, but overall he is a good child. And I think what play a big part is his dad. Like his dad tell him, he gonna be in his life, and then he don't do it, and then the things he be wanting his daddy to get, he can't get it, so he think he's supposed to go out here and do other things, and I tell him he cannot do that. I work hard, but I tell him you have to understand I have bills too, and I try my best to take care of him. But overall, Darian, he's not a bad kid. He's not. He just sometimes get around the wrong people and just, I don't know.
Okay, is he in school?
He's not in school right now. He was going to Mays, and they unenrolled him. He only has 7 more credits to graduate. So in January, I got to enroll him back in Hank Aaron to the alternative school because of his absence that he had missed. So I got to wait till January to roll him back in there. so he could graduate because he only has 7 more credits to get to graduate.
Okay, and tell me what's the name of that school?
Mays High School, and then the alternative school is Hank Aaron.
Hank Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. So, how does he spend his day if he's not in school?
He be at home. He just be at home, and sometimes he be at his friend's house. And that's what I tell him. If you was in school, your mind would be occupied. When you're not in school, when you don't obey me, this is what happened. You go out and do bad things. If you start obeying me, then it'll be okay. You'll be okay. You know, that's why I tell him I put him back in school. And he went for a while, then one little boy came around and it just like, Bill, he just stopped. And I told him, you can't do that. You can't let nobody influence you to do bad. If they want to do bad, you let them do bad by themselves. You got a mind of your own. He real smart, make A's and B's, but I just don't know. I don't know, Judge. I don't know. I do my best. I do my
I
best.
understand. I'm sure that you do, Ms. Dumas. All right, I know that you have a lot on you, but I'm going to make some restrictions on Darian. I'm going to give him a $2,000 signature bond through the jail.
Okay.
And I'm going to require that in January that he starts back at that he enrolls in Hank Aaron.
Okay.
And if they let him back into the other school, he has to enroll. He can enroll there, but he's going to have to enroll in some kind of school in January.
Okay.
I'm going to give him a curfew. He's got to be home by 9 p.m. And he cannot leave your home until 6 a.m.
Okay.
So, all right. If he gets a job, or if he goes to school and has some extracurricular activities, then I'll modify that.
Okay.
But he's got to stay in unless he's working or he's doing some type of something for school. Okay.
Okay.
Needs to have no drugs, no alcohol, or no weapons while he's out on bond.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I understand that you do have a lot on your plate, and with the other matter that you're dealing with him with. But I wish you the best of luck, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, and so Darian, let me just say to you that your mom seems like she's doing a lot to try to assist you. If I find out that you have violated, I'm doing this mostly for her because she would be the one that would be bonding you out. So I'm gonna give your mother a break. But if you violate any of these conditions that I've set down, and your mom lets me know that you violated the conditions, you know where you're gonna be? You're gonna be sitting right back where you are now, okay? So, good luck to you all, okay?
Thank
Oh,
you.
Your Honor, administratively, he wasn't even on the pull sheet, so I didn't know about him until the calendar came out. And of course, I just met him and just met his mom. So I don't have her email. If Your Honor needs a cosign, he's 17.
Okay, I sent him through the jail, so,
Oh, okay, never mind.
all right.
Thank you.
All right, I believe that completes the calendar for this afternoon, so if nothing else, I will see y'all on Thursday.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.